Tanya. Thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel today. We are crafting and I am making a Dollar Tree deco mesh wreath for fall. I made it not once but twice because I had some technical difficulties. Basically they're the same. I did change the ribbon based on availability and I changed up the centerpiece, but I had a blast. It was easy, it was quick. This probably costs less than $20, so let's get to crafting. All of the products that I used today came from Dollar Tree. I started with the wire floral ring that is over in that floral section, and then I added just some pipe cleaners that were in the orange I found over in the Halloween section and attached it to my wreath. That was just to make it easier. You do not have to do that. Sometimes I feel like they almost kind of get in the way. So then I took this orange deco mesh that was in the Halloween section as well. It's the 6-inch wide. I did use 2 rolls of this to be able to complete the ring. Then I made loops all over the ring. They're about 3 inches tall, but don't get too caught up in making them all match evenly. Don't worry too much about spreading them out. And unfortunately, right in here is where my camera strap decided to fall down. So I had to adjust how you are viewing this. I was so bummed about it, but I had to blow it up so that bottom left that you see in the frame, it is going to be in there for a few minutes. But as I went through this, all I did was just loop all the way around. That's probably the most tedious, time-consuming part of this process. This project is quite easy. So here is the completed orange portion. Then I took the green deco mesh that I also found in the Halloween section and started making just individual loops where there were gaps in the orange. Again, don't worry too much about technique with this part. You are just trying to find where there's little gaps throughout the orange and then strategically just placing your green loop. So I wouldn't have, in other words, a green loop right next to a green loop. I'd let there be a little orange loop and then I'd put a green loop. So you can see here how I did that. Just super easy. Made a little individual loop. I'm just placing it down into the metal. You can flip it around if you want, but not necessary. It did start getting quite crowded in there after a while, so just do the best that you can. Again, don't worry too much about it. Then I placed this gold yellowy color just for some little bit of filler. So now it's starting to look like a little something. So by the time I get all of these little yellow loops in, I mean, I probably put 10 in. Same with the green. So I maybe used half a roll to 2 rolls. You can still see through it, but it's starting to look a lot more full. So then I start adding ribbon. I used about 6 spools of ribbon and I cut lengths of about 12 inches and just made strips. Then I took and made those little dovetail at the end by just cutting little triangles. So here you can see all the different kinds of ribbon. Once I had a pile of ribbon to start with of different varieties, I took and combined 2 different ones, and it really doesn't matter. Put plaids with plaids, put prints with plaids, put solids with prints. It totally does not matter. And I used a pipe cleaner to just fold that in half, and that would be the right side, or the good side would be folded in if there is a right or a wrong side. Some of these ribbons, it didn't make any difference, but some of them it did. So that way when you put the pipe cleaner with your 2 pieces of ribbon straight down into the wreath and opened it back up, it would be the right side that was looking out. So that's why you do it that way. Then I take and just went all the way around the wreath, trying not to put necessarily patterns right next to each other. Again, it didn't matter a whole lot, but there are more prominent colors in this wreath. If you look at it, you see that the green catches your eye and some of the lighter print catches your eye. So I wouldn't necessarily have that right next to each other, but you end up putting so much in there that it really doesn't matter. And then, because more is more when it comes to ribbon, then I'm going to actually make a few bows. This is just a single loop bow, and I guess if anybody's interested, I can do a tutorial on how to make this. Because the bows are not the star of the show of this wreath and you're barely going to see them, I didn't get too methodical about them. I just used 2 different kinds of ribbon and made a simple little bow, and I just used both of the pieces of ribbon at the same time, made 1 loop on each side, then put my pipe cleaner through, tied it all off, and then put it in the wreath, and I put it a little bit to the side. That is actually going to be the top of my wreath, where the bow is, the single bow, and then I'm going to make, I don't know, either a 4 or a 6 loop bow for the bottom, and it's going to be slightly off center. I typically, with my wreaths, I enjoy having them just a little bit off instead of exactly straight up and down. I think it's a little bit more interesting, especially if I'm going to hang it on a door or something. So this little sucker did not want to go in. I ended up flipping it around and doing all kinds of stuff. It was starting to get pretty crowded in there, but finally it happened. And then I started on my second bow. So on this one, I decided to use as much shimmer as I possibly could, and I had this wonderful glitter ribbon that was left, and I just had to use. So as you can see, I started with the wrong side up to me. So that way, as I twisted and turned, I made sure that the rest of it was the right side looking at me. And I don't know if you can tell, but most of this ribbon is wired ribbon. And on that, there is, on one of my pieces, some of it has started to come off. I wasn't even too worried about it. I was going to cut it off, and then I just decided, never mind. And on this one, the only other thing I wanted to add is that I made my tails on purpose going 1 up and 1 down. That was just because I was going to feed those tails into my wreath and just have it as more ribbon. And then all I did was add that larger bow to the right hand side lower of what the wreath is going to be. So I have both bows sort of opposite each other but slightly off centered. Then I just finished it up by cutting the tails and just started fluffing it all around. I did add a few more of those double sprigs of ribbon. I don't know what those are even called, but I probably had a total of 30, I would say 25 to 30 of those inside my actual wreath. So after the countless minutes of fluffing and refluffing and fluffing again, there's one more step that I added, and that was a centerpiece to this. So at the Dollar Tree, they have a ton of different little signs and things. So this actually had a longer stick after the word patch that you would put as a stake into something, but I just popped that off. I took a little hand saw and just made a couple of rotations with it and then just broke it in half. Then I just worked it into the wreath and took a couple of pipe cleaners together and twisted them and just wrapped it around the stick part and then attached it to the wire from the back. It was really easy. It's only one little pipe cleaner fix and it works just fine. It's not going anywhere. And then I just sort of worked it all into it to make sure that my ribbon was how I wanted it. So I did some more fluffing and moving around with my different ribbon. I took some more of those 2-piece sprigs of ribbon that I wanted certain colors to be near other colors and just worked it in. And I think it turned out fantastic. I was so happy with it. It probably cost, it was definitely less than $20. The only thing in this besides ribbon, let me interrupt myself for a second. I am using my pen to take my pipe cleaner and just work it around. That way it looks like little swirls if there were any pipe cleaner that was exposed. But I think all that was used in this was the centerpiece, the wire, and the pipe cleaner. Everything else was ribbon. So I am thrilled with it. It really got me in the mood to do some more DIYs. So stay tuned, and if you want to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time.